Hi, my name is Aksik, aka Annika. Welcome to my channel. And today's video is a viewer request. Basically, I did a video about Languo gel pens when I got this big black box here. And I did a comparison with all the previous versions of Languo gel pens, and then quite a few of my viewers came and asked me, have you tried the new clickable ones, and how are they shaping up? So I kind of was curious about them myself, and of course I went and got some. And this video is now, I'm going to do kind of like a refresher type of a thing. I am still going to go over the kind of a quickly the history of Languo gel pens, and a little bit about the previous versions, and then I'm going to talk about the new clickable ones, because not everybody possibly has watched previous videos. Maybe there's new people here, so let's have a little quick refresher course. So let's not start with the clickable new ones. Let's start with the 0.6 millimeter ones. Yes, and these were the ones that kind of made Languo gel pens very popular at first. I have these 3 packs here. Most of my kind of like, there's actually spare packs. The way I store Languo gel pens, well, these specific gel pens, is that I have these sheets that actually came in a bag. And I think every bag was supposed to have 3, but I didn't want a bag. I wanted them kind of like handy, like this, kind of open system. So I have them in a box, basically stacked like this, and I can see, from the top of the box which pen I'm going to grab. But forget about these sheets. Here are the pens, and they are what you would call needle nose tip. So I'm going to get as close to you as I can here. And you can see that tip. It's very, very narrow. There doesn't seem to be like a ball. It's literally like a bit like a syringe needle type of a tip. They write very smoothly. The line is fine. They are water soluble, and they remain water soluble. Okay, this is very light, so it's hard for you to see how delicate the line is. Just a second. I'm going to take a different one that gives you a better idea. So essentially, okay, let's take a clean sheet for that. So if I bring you closer, the line is very fine. It's continuous, they don't skip, and the color selection is just amazing. And people, they got very popular, especially, well, with colorists for kind of covering lines and adding details, and also with people who love to do color by numbers, because these ones are really, leave a really lovely finish. Kind of, they are very opaque. They cover, lines very well, so you get this really painted result. Plus, they have this little trick that if you take a piece of putty or also kneadable eraser and push it into the top like this pretty strongly, it creates a bit of a vacuum push, and suddenly the ink comes down much more aggressively, and you get really nice, juicy, thick coverage, and it makes covering bigger areas absolute joy. I don't know if you can see, how much ink, how shiny it is, how much ink came down. And of course, eventually it will kind of run drier again. So all you need to do in this case is just push that little putty out, push it back in, and you get another kind of a boost to your writing. So this is about them, and they are very easy to also dissolve with water and kind of wash out, especially if you're working fresh on the page. So you can just take water brush and wash them out, and even create watercolor effects really easily with very little water on the pages. And they dissolve really beautifully. I'd say from all the gel pens, and I've tried now, several brands, do they all work the same? No, they don't. This specific ink formula in these specific pens, in the 0.6 millimeter pens, just kind of washes out and dissolves beautifully, and you can create lovely, basically whole pages just with gel pens. So everybody loved them. And then came out another new set of couple of new sets actually, gel pens, and they were called calligraphy gel pens. They called them Languo Calligraphy, and they look like this. In these, there's two of them were kind of like beautiful muted colors like this, and then the genuine are beautiful colors. There were a pack of 6 of silvers, pack of 6 of golds. I have the golds, I don't have the silvers. The whites are absolutely amazing, and also blacks, which I have them here, and they are all very nice. And what is beautiful about them is these are now 1 millimeter tip, so they have pretty nice nose on them. The ink comes out super juicy, super smooth. The finish is fairly shiny, but they are just a joy to put on the paper. It's you barely have to touch the paper, and the ink comes down very, very nice, very juicy, super smooth. So everybody loved them when they first came out, of course. For the reason they are lovely. One thing about them is that they dry. Here I have the samples. This is the sample of the 1 millimeter ones. If you can see, if I move the camera a bit, this one is the calligraphy ones now. They have slightly shiny finish, pretty shiny finish, and also kind of a fragile finish. So if you do big areas with them on the page, I would leave into the last, because even kind of touching it, brushing over it with hand or a brush or a little bit of a nail, and you get kind of like stripes and damages to the finish. So I would spray them even after you're done with them on the page. But they are absolute joy to work with, and really beautiful colors. And everybody was super happy when they saw that these ones came out. Now I have only one package of them still in the packaging. I kept this for this video, and they were called Languo Plus Color Painting Gel Pens. And most of us thought, oh, they're going to be the same thing as the calligraphy gel pens. They're also 1 millimeter, but they are not the same. They are behaved totally differently. They are essentially acrylic gel pens. So and the whole point is for these, idea of course was great, that you put them down, and once they dry, they are permanent. So you can go over them with water and nothing will move. And it would have been great, but the way that these pens were designed, or the nibs were designed, you have to keep pushing on the pen for the color to go down. If you just did normal writing like you would, you try to kind of like you would usually do with a gel pen, you could get some bits of color out, but you could get these really bad skipping. You pretty much had to hold them like constant. Some of them were harder, some of them were a bit better. It was a bit uneven. Some of them you had to really press constantly for the paint to come out. Some of them you just had to keep constant light pressure on, but they would not just write without pressure. Write properly anyway. You would get some bits of ink out like this occasionally. The finish of these pens was also very shiny. You can see that is the finish here. I need a bigger square. It's less shiny than the calligraphy ones, but it's still pretty shiny. So the pencils on top of these, you could get some pencil on it, but it wouldn't be great. The previous ones, the 6mm ones and 1mm calligraphy ones, I wouldn't really go on top of them with pencils because it would just damage the finish. It would just scratch the finish up because the finish was fairly fragile. And you know, a lot of people were super annoyed because of that, because especially if your hands are a bit sore, or if you have arthritis, or, you know, you just might have problems with your hands, or if you just want to do kind of more, sometimes you want to do kind of more delicate things, you know, kind of pull lines out, or kind of take a thick line and then kind of be fairly controlled about how you taper it off very gently, and it was very hard to do with these ones. So yes, people were quite disappointed in these. They liked the acrylic ink, as did I. I liked the inks, but I did not like how they worked. So Languo obviously listened, which is a great thing about that company, and they came out with new acrylic pens. And these ones are called Languo Acrylic Painting Gel Pens Plus. And, you know, they sound pretty much the same because the previous ones were also Languo Plus. So name hasn't really changed. What has changed and how you can identify the new ones is that the new ones, I have the full packet, full color set, which is 90 colors. But because I saw a review for them, you know, before I bought them, and, you know, people were very complimentary, so I kind of went for it. But otherwise I would have bought, you know, 1 or 2 small sets and tested them out before I went, because, you know, I got burnt with the previous ones. I got quite a few sets of them, and then I didn't like them at all. So I got this one, and how you can identify them is the packaging always has this kind of a big rainbow curlicue on them. Even the small packages have this thing on them, so you can recognize that these are the new ones. And the new ones now look exactly the same as the old ones. The only difference is, or seems to be, is that the old ones are P600. So it's Color Gel Pen Plus Languo P600. And it says B here as well. And these ones, okay, they're sometimes hard to get out of here. These ones are P650B. And the difference is that you don't have to press down anymore. So you can just put your pen onto the paper very softly and just start writing. So, you know, no pressure, and they're also acrylic. They are also obviously, you know, once they dry, they are become waterproof. They have nice, bold, juicy 1mm nib, and you know, I am super happy about them, especially considering that they also have, you know what, I wasn't overly happy with the previous ones, that they all had fairly shiny finishes. Now the new 1mm, these ones, P650, the new acrylic 1mm pens, their finish is much more matte. I wouldn't say that it's totally matte or grabs pencil amazingly, but you can put some pencil on top. You know, it doesn't have this kind of glossy finish. It has very, very gentle, kind of a hint of satin finish. So you can actually get some pencil on top. And of course, you can do everything else you could with the previous ones, with these as well, you can, you know, put them onto the paper, and while they're still wet, you can wash them out, and then as they dry, that becomes permanent, and you can go top with other colors. So they are really nice to work with. I was very, very impressed with them. Quite happy that I got them, and they've seen some use already. I also loved, you know, that I still have them in this kind of a box packaging. I don't know, eventually they might end up in rubber bands. That's my usual story of my life. I like things in rubber bands. Basically, you know, this is how I store my things often, you know, rubber bands by colorways. The trays they come are pretty sturdy, and the pens are here really, really securely. Like, I can shake it and nothing falls out. You actually have to kind of, I have usually like palette knife or scissors, and I kind of pop them out with it. So yeah, they are fantastic, and I'm super happy with them, and I like the ink better than I liked the previous ink because it's more matte. This is an individual thing and might not be the case with you. This is, you know, what you prefer. Now let's get, oh, I can also mention that meanwhile they also came out with shiny gel pens. They're basically glitter gel pens, and these now have a lot of different, like, there's a lot of them, you know, kind of, there's two kind of a sets or kind of a batches that came out. They are very nice. Some of them are quite opaque, some of them are not opaque at all, some of them are more glittery than others, but there's loads of fun and interesting colors, and they are genuinely lovely and write really, really smoothly, and one of the best gel pens I have, you know, kind of glitter gel pens I have come across, and I've used them on my pages quite a bit. Anyways, now let's get to the purpose of this video, which, you know, is why you probably clicked here. And this is now the new clickable ones. I thought you might appreciate slightly closer look. You can see they have those nice roller nibs, 0.7 millimeter. They have lovely soft silicone grip, and those kind of clips at the end are sprung, so you can actually pull them quite far away. I think they're meant for if you want to carry them around with your journal or something. They will sit pretty well even on wider area, and kind of grip, and, you know, don't break the clip at the back. So yeah, I think they look really lovely and they are comfortable. They also have numbers, as you can see in a second. I tried to get as close as possible. So all the clickable ones are marked BG, and then you have number. There's also name underneath the number, but the name is Chinese. So I didn't really go as far to translate with them, but if you want to have a go with Google and also translate all the names for them, that's your prerogative. I don't really have negative things as such to say about them. I do have some reservations, but I have also many positive things to say about them. So the way I at the moment have them is that I put, these ones aren't switched yet, but I put, at the moment I'm keeping them in the boxes. I haven't decided if that's going to change or not, but, you know, at the moment they kind of work for me when they're in the boxes, in separate boxes. And I put masking tape. I just ran a strip of masking tape here. And this one I haven't gotten to it yet, but basically I swatched them like this onto the masking tape and also put the numbers underneath, and they do have numbers. So this is, this is something that I actually forgot to mention, that the acrylic gel pens now, you know, both the first edition that you had to press onto and the new edition, these big black box ones, they all have numbers. So, you know, if you're a swatcher and if you really want to kind of organize your art supplies in that way, you know, this will be super important and more convenient for you. These ones, I don't even remember You know, the initial kind of calligraphy ones, did they have numbers? No, they didn't. You know, the ones that started it all, and the reason I actually ended up with the pile of gel pens that I didn't really love, meaning the first acrylic ones. Now, these ones are also acrylic, the clickable ones. They are 0.7 millimeters. Okay, I know that the glare of the lamp is not great, but it's evening light, and otherwise it would be too dark here at my desk. 0.7 millimeters, and the way they work is that, you know, you take it out, you click, and it should be ready. Okay, and this is one of my kind of, not that everything is working absolutely perfectly so far. Okay, I am just a bit wary about will it keep doing it, because there is no cap. There's, you know, if you click onto it, if you pull it back in there, there is nothing, you know, basically you can see the tip, or, you know, the nib through that little hole where it comes out from. I have gotten some paint onto my fingernail. Okay. It looks pretty bad. They work very smoothly. The line is more delicate than the 1 millimeter one, obviously, but not, you know, as thin as the 0.6, which is kind of surprising because there shouldn't be a huge difference, but it actually looks pretty big. If I put the 0.7 millimeter one down like this here, and if I pull out one of the 0.6 ones, to me the line difference is quite significant. I don't know if you see it, but to me it looks more than it should be. But maybe it's just, you know, how my brain perceives it. Quite possibly it's actually not the case. But yeah, they go down pretty juicy. They write smooth, and I think that the ink is the same as the new acrylic ink in these 1 millimeter ones. And why I think that, I kind of swatched them out, and the finish to me is the same. I swatched out kind of like bigger square here, and if I move, you know, the page, you can see how the other ones kind of get that gloss or shine, and those two in the corner here, this and this, are more matte. So yeah, this is, you could get some pencil on top of it. You know, I wouldn't now recommend it as your main pencil surface, but if you needed to put some pencil on top of it to a little extent or some extent, you could get away with it. Really like how they work. They are beautifully opaque, you know, as I said, more matte. What did I mean by reservations? Well, reservation is the clickable part. And it's not really reservation as such. I'm not sure if it will become a problem or not. You see, when they first come, they come with that little, I specifically left, you know, one of them intact, so you know, I could show you. They come with that little plastic or kind of waxy plastic protector on the nib. And, you know, while that plastic thing is on them, you can totally see that, you know, everything is fine, you know, nothing is going to dry out. But the ink inside them is acrylic ink, or, you know, something that is permanent, that will dry waterproof. So if I take that off, and I can't see many of us kind of keeping them and keep putting them back. Like, I'm not that person though. Like, I can't myself, you know, see myself constantly kind of taking it off and putting it back, and I will lose it eventually anyway, and they will never kind of stay on the same way. I'm sure that some of us would be as diligent as that. I'm not. And my fear is a little bit that will they eventually, you know, kind of dry out faster, because there's essentially no cap. You know, now that this red thingy-mabob, you know, waxy bit or knee protector is gone, will they start drying out. But I've heard and I've had pens that had you know, that sort of a gel pens that are clickable before, and they didn't dry out. You know, they worked for a long time, for years, and nothing happened to them. The only bit about this is that they went waterproof, you know, they went acrylic. So, you know, could that be a problem? I don't know. And because none of us has had them, you know, they are fairly new thing. None of us have had them really long enough to find out either. I'm hoping, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this will not become a problem. Also, of course, you can wash them out, you know, if they're still fresh. So where's my beautiful water brush? So you can see they wash out beautifully, and then when you let them dry, or if you dry them with heat gun or something like this, they of course become permanent, and then you can afterwards put other colors on top and layer the kind of a gel pen washes and blending, which I have found lately really fun thing to do with acrylic gel pens. Really enjoy that for some reason. And then after you've done that, you know, if you wash them out like this, you can definitely put pencils on top, like, you know, do proper shading, no problem at all, because, you know, you're very much breaking down that kind of a satiny or kind of solid surface, and it becomes a wash. So it is literally matte and slightly textured, so you absolutely can put pencils on top. So what is my quick conclusion? You know, should you get them or not? If you have already the 0.6 millimeter ones, and if you have already 1 millimeter ones, I mean now these ones, then unless you want to know something like in between line, I can't really see a huge need for them, because they are essentially the same colors. The same colors run through essentially, you know, through all of the sets. So I do like them. They are cute. They are convenient. I do like the colorways, although, you know, the color choice is at the moment anyway slightly smaller than, you know, in other sets. I like the fact that they are matte. So I would kind of consider them that if you're choosing at the moment, you want to get acrylic gel pen, do you want a one that writes thinner, or do you want a set that has, you know, kind of more thick, juicier line? You know, it depends what work you're getting them from. For example, I really like them that thickness of a line, you know, for covering line art, for example, you know, your normal line art. I like that thickness of a line, the 0.7, often better than the 1 millimeter one. So if you're getting them for that, I think these ones are great. But if you want to cover bigger areas or do color by numbers or something like that, I would get the 1 millimeter ones, you know, if you want acrylic ones, because these two are acrylic sets, you know, and they are essentially, I could pretty much swear that they are the same ink, these ones and these ones, that the ink is the same, because it's exactly the same finish and it feels the same. So yeah, I think it's the same ink. And I can also show you quickly, you know, since I'm sitting here, the opaqueness. So as with any gel pen, you know, put it, before you go to the main line, put it down on a separate piece of paper and kind of, you know, just in case, see if it gets going right away. And okay, I'm going to lift it so you can see. You can see it's nice and opaque, because yellow is actually hard often, you know, to make the way that it goes and covers the lines totally, and this one has absolutely covered the line. So yes, nice ink. Really like the ink in them. And you know, it's a matter of, do you want like thinner line or thicker line? I like the fact that I have both, and if you're like me, you might end up getting both of them, or at least some of these sets, because if I was to choose, if I knew exactly what they were, where I would get some, like only certain sets, I would probably get the skin color kind of you know, for doing like covering the lines for skin, like this one. I will probably get some bright yellows, and I will probably get some greens, because these are the most, you know, the ones that I kind of use most often, kind of when I need finer lines, grass and foliage, you know, little details. I would probably get away with just these, but I do like the fact that I have some extra colors here as well. So this is, you know, very personal thing. So yeah, absolutely, they are not bad. Well, they are good. They work wonderfully. They work smoothly. It's the matter is, you know, do you need them all, or you know, which line thickness would you prefer? And if you want me to show that the pencil is going on the top, there you go. The pencil can get, this wasn't a great pencil. Also, there was old Amazon Basics pencil, and I got even that to go on top of it. I'm not saying it's not something, a surface that you could color on, but if you want to put a tiny bit of shading somewhere, you can get away with it. So that's it. Hopefully, you know, you found the information you were looking for here. If I remember any other details that I forgot, I might put them in as subtitles, or, you know, text in description, so keep an eye out for these. Thank you very much for watching. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. It helps my channel hugely. And wishing you lovely creative time, and bye bye.